The starting gun fired at dawn. 18-year-old Arjun stood at the edge of the track, heart hammering against his ribs, eyes scanning the competitors lined up beside him. They all looked faster, stronger, more prepared. Their shoes were better. Their form was perfect. Their confidence was the kind that fills a room and leaves no space for anyone else. Arjun had none of that. What he had was a worn-out pair of sneakers, a mother who worked double shifts at a textile factory, and a dream so big it sometimes frightened him in the quiet of the night. He ran. The first leg of the race was easy. Everyone runs well when the road is flat, the air is fresh, and the crowd is cheering. Arjun kept pace with the others, riding on adrenaline and the blind courage of youth. For a few glorious minutes, he believed the race was his to win. Then came the first hill. It rose without warning, steep, relentless, and seemingly endless. One by one, the runners around him found their rhythm on the incline. But Arjun's legs burned. His breath came in ragged gasps. His body, still learning what it meant to be pushed to its absolute limit, began to betray him. He slowed. Others passed him. 5, then 10, then what felt like everyone. A boy in bright red shoes glanced back and smirked. Arjun's jaw tightened. He did not stop. He could not explain why, exactly. Some quiet, stubborn part of him simply refused to let his feet stand still. He reached the top of that hill alone, long after the others had crested it and disappeared around the bend. At the halfway point, there was a water station. An old man stood there, handing out small paper cups. His face was lined with decades of weather and wisdom, and his eyes held the kind of calm that only comes from having survived many storms. He handed Arjun a cup and said something Arjun did not expect. "You're running the wrong race, son." Arjun stopped. "What do you mean? This is the only race on the track." The old man shook his head slowly. "Every person out there is running their own race, against their own fears, their own past, their own clock. The moment you start measuring your progress by where someone else is standing, you lose, even if you cross the finish line first." Arjun stared at him, sweat dripping down his temples. "The boy in the red shoes?" The old man continued. "He has been running since he was 6. His father is a coach. His life has been shaped for this track." He paused. "And you, what has your life been shaped for?" Arjun thought of his mother, of the sound of the sewing machine running late into the night, of the way she pressed his hand before he left each morning and said, "Make something of it today, something different." Arjun answered quietly. The old man smiled. "Then run that race. Run it with everything you have, not against them, for yourself." Arjun set the paper cup down and stepped back onto the track. Something had shifted inside him, not dramatically, not like a lightning bolt, but like the slow turning of a key in a rusted lock. He stopped looking at the runners ahead. He stopped calculating the gap. He simply ran. He paid attention to his breath. He noticed the way his arms could propel him forward when he stopped tensing them. He found a rhythm. His rhythm, not borrowed from anyone else, not measured against anyone else's stride. The second half of the race was harder than the first. There were 2 more hills, a stretch of gravel that tore at his ankles, and a long, punishing straightaway under a sun that showed no mercy. There were moments when his mind screamed at him to slow down, to accept defeat, to acknowledge the obvious truth that he was not built for this. He kept running, not because winning was guaranteed, not because the crowd was cheering for him. It wasn't. He kept running because he had decided, somewhere between the water station And that brutal gravel path, that the worst possible outcome was not losing the race. The worst possible outcome was stopping and spending the rest of his life wondering what would have happened if he had UNT. He did not finish first. He did not finish second or third. When Argon crossed the finish line, the boy in the red shoes had already collected his medal and was posing for photographs. Several others had finished long before Arjun's lungs found their final breath of effort. But something remarkable happened in the final stretch. The crowd, which had grown quiet after the top finishers crossed the line, began to stir again. Someone noticed a lone runner still on the track, still going, still pushing, head up, arms driving forward with absolute refusal to surrender. A few people started clapping, then more. By the time Arjun crossed the line, the applause was louder than it had been for the winner. He stood there, hands on his knees, chest heaving, and he cried, not from sadness, from release, from the overwhelming realization that he had discovered something on that track that no trophy could give him. The knowledge of exactly how far he could go when he refused to quit. He had gone to his absolute edge and found that it was further than he had ever imagined. That discovery would live in him longer than any medal ever could. He looked up at the sky. Somewhere across the city, his mother was bent over a sewing machine, making something of her day. He made a silent promise to her and to himself that today was only the beginning. Years later, Arjun became a coach. He trained hundreds of young runners, not just in athletics, but in the quiet, invisible race of life that every human being runs from the moment they are born. And on the first day of every new season, he would gather his students at the starting line and tell them something. An old man at a water station once told him, "You are not racing the person beside you. You are racing the version of yourself that is tempted to give up. Beat that opponent every single day, and you will have won something that lasts forever." Then he would fire the starting gun, and every single one of them would run not faster than each other, but deeper into themselves, toward the truest and best version of who they were capable of becoming. The track was always the same, but the race, the real race, was always deeply, beautifully personal.